Alright, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on What the Sheet. And in today's episode, we're going to be kind of doing a quick review of my Skil multi-tool. I've got this in the kit. I think it was a 5-tool kit that I got, probably a few months ago now. So, the main reason I got this is, one, for doing, all the woodworking stuff I do in my garage, and then also for remodeling in my house. Whether it's cutting notches out of 2x4s like I have here on the bench, or just cutting nails and stuff like that in hard to reach places. So a little multi-tool like this comes in real handy. This is 12 volt, just like all my other Skil tools that I have. It's got a variable speed on it. It's not a smooth transition. It goes up in steps. So every time you rotate the dial from 1 to 6, it changes the speed from 11,000 RPMs or revolution or oscillations to 18,000. And then I do believe the angle is 3.7 degrees of oscillation from left to right. And where that comes important is the greater the angle is from left to right on the tip here, is the faster it'll cut through any material, whether it's wood, plastic, metal, cutting nails, for instance, or cutting through wood. Having that higher oscillation angle, it'll just cut through faster and it'll clear the debris out as you're cutting. Overall, tools pretty light, not super heavy. I do have a 2 amp hour battery on here just because typically if you're using this, it's because you're trying to get into hard to reach areas, so you don't want it to be heavy and bulky with a bigger battery. What else? So tool change, pretty simple. There's a lever here on the top. You're just going to turn this. I don't know what the angle is on that, but it's almost 180 degrees. And then that release the pin on the bottom here, and this actually is magnetized, so it'll actually hold your blade in there without too much force. And then you can just change your blade if you have the open-ended blades like this. But if you do have a blade that's got a full back piece to it, you just take this little piece, do a quarter turn, and then the little center part comes out. You can stick your full blade in there and then slide this back in, and it's all magnetized, so it'll hold everything in place. And then just do another quarter turn back, and that'll lock it in place. And then you have multiple positions, so if you need to cut at an angle, on the side or something like that, you can set your blade up in multiple positions that way. So if you're trying to get into a corner, or whatever kind of position you're trying to get into, you have a few options there, just like most any other multi-tool. And then it's locked in place. And then on the front, this kind of clear white area here is actually the light. So most multi-tools will have just a single dot light on the nose somewhere, or sometimes underneath. On the bottom side here, it'll have a light that'll shine kind of towards the end of the workpiece. Versus this one, it has one that shines, I think it's like 120 degrees in the front, which is really handy because it'll light up most of the time where you're working. Because probably 90-95% of the time you're going to be working with the blade directly out in front of your tool as you're driving into a piece of wood or doing something like that. So having a nice big wide light here, it comes in real handy versus like a regular tool light, like I said, where it's just a little dot and it just kind of shines and it's not as bright and not as directed. What else I want to cover? This is brushless. I don't know if I mentioned that, but all Skil 12 volt tools are all brushless, and most of their 20 volt tools I think are brushless as well. Some of their older stuff might not be brushless. And then the trigger is a slide switch. So it's just pushing it holds it on. Doesn't have a trigger or anything underneath. So I think most multi-tools are kind of the same, where it just has a slide switch as a trigger. It's actually pretty quiet. So right now it's on 1, so that's the lowest speed, so that's 11,000 RPMs. So if I turn it on, you can see it's not super loud, no louder than probably your drill, your impact driver. So if I crank the speed all the way up to 6 on the dial here, so that's going to be 1,800 oscillations per minute. So as you can see, it ramped up after the tool turned on, and then it got louder, probably what you would think of mostly when you're listening to a multi-tool run. So I'm going to turn on again, and then I'll go through the steps as I turn it back down. So as you can see, as I turn the tool down, it's not a smooth transition from 1800 oscillations down to 11. It comes in steps. Not maybe the greatest. It would be nice if it was a smooth transition up and down, but at the end of the day, most of the time, like for example, my father-in-law, he's an electrician, he has a multi-tool, and whenever he grabs it, he just has it on full blast, turns it on, uses it for what he needs to, and then turns it off. He doesn't mess with the settings on, how fast or how slow he wants it to oscillate. It's usually just full blast or on low. There's really not a lot of in-between adjustments. But if you do like those in-between adjustments and you want that fine adjustment, this will not do that. But like I said, most times we're using it for cutting off a nail or cutting out a notch in a piece of wood like I'm going to do here in a second. So it's really not super necessary to have all those fine adjustments. So now that I've gone over all of the kind of features of this tool and kind of what it can do, I have on here a blade that's for nail embedded wood. And on the end of my wood here, let me grab my camera. So on the end, you can see these nails here. They're 1.25 inch hard trim nails. So, what you would find if you're pulling off trim or doing something like that, trying to fix or doing a remodel in a house. So what I'm going to do is we'll fire up the multi-tool. We'll do probably low setting first, just basically doing a straight cut across. And then I'll do a notch out like you would if you're trying to put in some copper piping in the wall, or even running some wire and you needed to just do a little notch to get it tucked in tight. So I'll be right back once we're all set up. All right, so we're going to do a cut where I'm going to come in from the side here, and we're just going to try and cut this first group of 5 nails. And then after that, we'll go through and get after these 3. And that should be basically a full depth cut with this blade on there, and we'll just kind of see how it goes from there. And we're going to start on high for the first 5, just because you're going through so many. And then once we get deeper, we're going for these 3, I'll turn it down to the low setting. Okay, so as you can see, I was able to cut through all 5. As I was cutting through, I was kind of pushing the nails out. Some of the nail, it looks like this middle one here, kind of got pulled out, and then I was pushing it back through the board this way. So I was kind of trying to cut more of the nail than I would normally. Overall, I think it did pretty good. Most of the time when people are using multi-tools like this, they're using it to cut notches out of 2x material in a wall, or trimming up some drywall, or cutting into drywall for like an outlet or something like that. So really not typically going through a lot of harder material like nails, especially hardened nails like these are. But other than that, as long as you have the right blade on it, you should have no problem using it. So next we're gonna go over here on the other side of the board, and we're just gonna cut a small little notch. Like I said, for if you're having to run like copper piping through a piece of lumber, or maybe some electrical wire or some conduit wire. That way, you can have it nice and flush with the wall when you're doing your finish work. All right, so we're just going to cut a little notch. It'll be probably about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch square. I'll do my best. Basically about the width of the blade wide, and then about that deep. And then we're just going to cut the little notch and just go all the way through and kind of see how fast this takes. And we're going to still stay on the high setting, because like I said, when my father-in-law uses his, He has a Milwaukee 18 volt one, and his is just in high all the time when he uses it. So we're just going to kind of do it in the same kind of pattern. So here we go. So as you can see, doesn't take long to cut a little notch out. You know, I can fit my thumb in there, and it's flush with the front edge of the board here. And you know, it's perfect for after you install 2 by wall, or if you're doing a remodel and you're trying to move some plumbing around or something like that. This works great for just doing a notch on the outside edge of a board. Just trying to, you know, get a nice little square hole versus trying to run a drill bit on the edge, or using a handsaw to cut the edges and then come through with a chisel and break out the centerpiece. Having a multi-tool just makes it go so much faster, and especially if you're doing running piping, you know, in a bathroom or something like that, you having to go through multiple studs. You know, doing it the hand method, yeah, you might get a cleaner hole, be a little bit more exact, but it's going to take you 10 times as long versus the multi-tool. You just go and you buzz out, you know, a half dozen of these little notches, and then you can lay your pipe in and then move on and continue on with your remodel, whatever work you're doing. What else? So I will include a link for this guy in the video description as always. I don't remember the price off the top of my head, or if Amazon sells this, because that's where I've been buying these tools from, is Amazon. I don't know if they sell just the multi-tool. I'm pretty sure they do. So I'll try and find a link for just the tool only. I think it's about $100, maybe a little bit more than $100 for the multi-tool, battery, and a charger. And I would assume that this, as a kit, comes with a 2 amp hour battery, which is what I have on here right now. And then it does come with one blade from the kit, but more blades, like variety of blades. So like the blade I have on there now is good for wooden, nail embedded wood. And then you could also get blades that are specialized for cutting plastics, and just regular wood cutting blades. So they're going to cut through wood a little bit faster than this will. And then you can get metal specific blades. And a lot of times if you buy them in bulk, you get a pretty good price on them. So if you're going to use this a lot, I would recommend buying the blade that you're going to use and buying it in bulk. What else? I would say the one kind of gripe that I have with this is just the speed adjustment. Just because it's not a smooth transition from high to low. There's, you know, it's steps in between. But like I said earlier, it doesn't really matter all that much, because most of the times when you're using a tool like this, you're just going to have it set at whatever speed you like to use, and then you're just going to turn the tool on and go. However, it does make up for that, I think, a little bit by having the large light in the front here. Like I said, it's a 120 degree spanning light, so it really lights up your work area, which is really handy when you're doing remodel work or just working in a tight area, which is what these tools are really good at. So being able to light up that area that you're working and not having an auxiliary light like a flashlight, or for example, this guy, which is my Skil little work light, you know, not having to have multiple tools in a tight space just to light it up comes in real handy. And then on top of that, this being 12 volt, it's pretty small, pretty easy to kind of get a hold of and reach out, and it's not super heavy like some of the 18 volt tools tend to be, just because they're bigger batteries, a little bit bigger motors, so everything else just ends up being heavier and kind of more awkward. Yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, I'll put this link in the description for where you can get this tool, and I will have a video in 2 weeks, and I think the next video will be on some fishing breakboards that I've been working on. And yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.